program is paid for by the concerned clergy. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Urban One Incorporated, Radio One, or any of its subsidiary companies. The concerned clergy invites you to their weekly town hall meeting on Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM.
Well, we invite you to catch our Substack. And our Substack will play tomorrow morning. That's the replay of tonight's program. That'll be on the Progressive Indiana Network. That's our Substack. And you can catch the entire program if you, for some reason, aren't able to be able to listen and watch on tonight. You can do that. If you are happen to be driving in your car, you can tune in to Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM. And you can listen to us. Or if you happen to be on Facebook or YouTube, you can catch us on this Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis Facebook page. I want to welcome everyone to our program on tonight. I'm Reverend Tony Alexander and glad to be able to be with you on this evening. I got several topics we're going to be discussing on tonight. We're hoping to have a guest as well. Looking to hear from the trustee at Pike Township, Annette Johnson. Looking for her to come and join us as well on tonight. But as we get started with our program, I want to remind you that you can be part of the program. And how can you do that? Well, you can do that by calling into the radio station, and that phone number is 317-480-1310. Once again, 317-480-1310 is that call-in number. And you can also comment on our Facebook page also, the Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, a lot of things going on with the data centers. On today, Congressman Carson announced that he's going to be putting together some legislation in regards to data centers. And with that, question is, what exactly is he going to be introducing? I'm not sure what it is exactly he's going to be sharing. This issue of data centers has kind of been lingering on for some time. For the most part, since we had that data center in Franklin Township that was being proposed. So since I don't know, that's been over a year or so. Haven't heard a whole lot from our congressman. However, what he has told us is that he is going to be introducing maybe some guidelines. He's going to be introducing some things there that those developers that are interested in bringing data centers into our neighborhood, he's going to be saying, here's what some of the things that the community needs, and we need to make sure that the community voice is being heard. So that's what's going on. Once again, he announced that today, that he's going to have something for tomorrow that he's going to be proposing. Also, we have our city county council that is supposedly, trying to put on some guardrails as well. And that is something that they actually had the opportunity to do earlier on in the year, and they didn't. They had an opportunity, when they were voting on the Metro Blocks data center there in Martindale, Brightwood. They had an opportunity then to put some guardrails on, but they declined to do that. But now they're telling us that they're getting ready to put some sort of guardrails, if you will. They're going to propose something in which they're going to say, here's some of the things that we're proposing. And here's my question. This isn't new. It's been going on for some time. However, it's like now all of a sudden we have folks that are wanting, and when I say folks, I'm saying specifically our legislators that are wanting to quote unquote act in regards to these issues. And I think a lot of the debates, a lot of the discussion has been could have been better handled if, and good evening, Gloria, could have been handled if we had some of those things in place. I'm Reverend Tony Alexander. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can call in to the radio station, the number 317-480-1310, or you can also comment on our Facebook page as well. But I think if early on, when we had City County Councilor Jesse Braun, he proposed that, we put up some sort of guidelines, guardrails, have, some transparency when it comes to the developers of data centers. He proposed that in a caucus that is majority Democrat. He's a Democrat. However, they voted it down. And now they're coming up months later saying, well, we're going to do exactly what he was proposing. And the question is, we have all of these communities, whether it's Decatur, whether it's the one down in Franklin Township, whether it's Pike Township, whether it's Martindale Brightwood, where now there's another data center that's being proposed on another side of town. All of these are dealing with the same issues. However, there was no legislators, that were willing, at least here in Marion County, to say, here's what we're going to do so we can at least try to wrap our arms around it and handle all of these requests. So we're not putting everything on to an individual city county councilor, such as what happened in the case of Councilor Gibson, where he was the only one that was really speaking out, and not favorably, if you will, to what the community wanted to hear. But at least he was the only one speaking out. For the most part, you didn't hear many other folks speaking out and saying, here's what we need to do, here's what we're going to do. But now they are. And now we're hearing that Congressman Carson is saying that he's going to do the same thing, that he's going to propose at least some piece of legislation or author some bill that will at least give us an idea and what are some things that the community has already been asking for, what the community has already, they're being coming to the table wanting to find out some transparency as far as how big is the data center going to be, what's the energy, what's the repercussions of, the energy bills, energy usage, energy demand, what's the infrastructure, what's that going to be like in our communities, in our neighborhoods. Those are some things that now he is saying that he wants at least to have at least some sort of framework, some sort of guardrail, some sort of where there is community voice that's being heard before decisions are made. And we actually had that come up in Pike Township as well. As we're looking for our trustee to come in, and we're going to go ahead and bring her here in just a second. But that's one of the items that in pretty much every township that we're facing, that is having to be dealt with in all of the communities across Marion County. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our break a little bit earlier on tonight. We're going to bring our Pike Township trustee in. But I do want you to, as you're thinking about voting, have a voting plan. Have a voting plan. Tomorrow, Thursday, at 11:59 p.m. is the last day that you can request a vote, a mail-in ballot. So tomorrow, you can actually do that. You can go online and you can request that mail-in ballot as an absentee ballot. Once again, tomorrow's the deadline for that. And then this coming Saturday is when the satellite voting centers are going to open up. And there's several early voting locations that are getting ready to open up, and those are across the city, the county. So in all of the townships, well, the majority of the townships, Decatur, Franklin Township, Perry Township, Warren Township, you can go to their government centers. So beginning on Saturday, you can go to the government centers and you can vote there. Once again, that's Decatur, Franklin, Perry Township, and Warren Township. Then in Pike Township, you can vote at the public library. Also, Fort Bend branch of the public library, you can vote Cranard Park. And then lastly, you can vote at St. Luke's United Methodist Church there on 86th Street. So you can vote there as well. That is beginning Saturday. But right now, the City County building is already open where you can early vote. And that will remain to be open up until May the 4th at 12 noon. And then Election Day is May 5th. The main thing is have a voting plan. Have a plan on what you're going to do. Have a plan on how you're going to vote. If you're wanting, once again, to vote by mail, you have to do that by tomorrow. But we wanted to encourage everyone. Let's change the narrative. Let's change the dismal numbers that Marion County has typically had when it comes to voting, especially in primary elections. Let's increase those numbers. Let's increase those percentages. Don't just be registered, but get out and vote. So we're going to go to our first commercial break. We're going to do that a little bit early. And then when we come back, we're going to invite our Pike Township Trustee, who's actually running for reelection, Annette Johnson. We're going to have her join us. But let's go ahead and go to our commercial break. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can call into the radio station. That number's 317-480-1310. Once again, 317-480-1310. Or you can also comment on our Facebook page, and we'll try to catch those comments as well. So you're listening to the Concerned Clergy Radio Show on Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM Indy's Inspiration Station. Welcome back to the Concerned Clergy Radio Show. I'm Reverend Tony Alexander. I'm glad to be with you on tonight, and I'm joined by our trustee from Pike Township, Miss Annette Johnson. And Miss Annette Johnson is she's running for re-election on tonight, and we're glad to have Miss Johnson come and share with us. Trustee Johnson, how you doing this evening?
Oh, good evening. Everything is going good. I'm doing great. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right. We're certainly glad to have you. And if you happen to be listening to us on tonight, feel free to call into the radio station. The phone number is 317-480-1310. Once again, 317-480-1310. You can also comment on our Facebook page, the Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis. Feel free to do that as well if you have a question or comment for our trustee on this evening. Before we get into your actual campaign, Trustee Johnson, just kind of give our listening audience just, a quick summary, if you will. What is the role of a trustee? Because we have a lot of new voters that it seems like are getting out now in this election cycle, and some aren't even sure. Well, what does a trustee do?
Well, again, Reverend Alexander, thank you for this opportunity. What a great question. What is the role of the trustee? Well, the trustee is an individual in the community of a township that provides emergency assistance, as well as I'm able to also provide fire protection. But again, my main role is to provide emergency assistance. That might be in the role of utilities, mortgage, rental payments, clothing, school uniforms, food vouchers, diapers, I would say supplies for expectant mothers. Again, anything that an individual or resident is experiencing at an emergency rate, that's what the trustee's role is to do, to be that helpmate in her community.
Well, Trustee Johnson, I mean, you just listed a whole gamut of issues in which folks are dealing with daily. So where does a budgeting for a township trustee's office, where does the funding come from? If someone is, just curious, well, where does the money come from to do all of the services that you just described?
Okay, yeah, another good question. Again, as you just said, the services that are provided through the trustee's office is within the tax base of those particular residents that live in that community. So we have 9 townships. There are 9 trustees, and we all have same functions, some more than others. Again, there are only 3 townships that have a standalone fire department, and Pike Township is one of those. And so I'm also able to have a budget from the fire department that helps with the fire protection, again, from the tax base of the residents in Pike Township.
So if someone's, because you mentioned things such as housing, rental assistance, utilities, what are the quote unquote, I'll say qualifications, if you will? What do I need to present to the trustee's office if I need assistance in, those particular areas?
Well, again, we look at your finances from the past 30 days. We look at what has deemed an emergency. Because again, we're just another layer of government that is helping individuals that's closest to their community. And a lot of times people don't know that. But again, the trustee is just another form of governmental assistance that's to help individuals in an emergency crisis. And so to qualify, of course, you have to live in your township. So we go by the zip codes in that particular area. ID, of course, and documentation to show what the emergency is and why we're in the situation that we may be. A lot of times it could be individuals are laid off or hours were cut short. So we will see that in their pay scale. They may be facing a health issue where they're off work for a medical procedure, and so forth. So that's where that comes in. Also, since we have the fire department, if there is a fire, we're able to provide assistance to that individual for a month to get them some form of relief until insurance comes into play or family members come into play to pick up from there.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned something that is actually kind of concerning to me when I look at the role that a trustee's office performs. Because you said that, the trustee's office, currently as we look at it, is another layer of assistance that can be provided to our constituents and to those in our communities. However, what we're seeing is that a lot of federal funding that used to be there is going away. We're seeing state funding that used to be there is going away. So with that being said, do you feel, or when you're even discussing with some of your trustee counterparts, are you guys feeling any burdens, any more pressures, anything like, okay, if these programs are going away, where now we're going to have to pick up some of that burden?
Yes, of course, we feel that strain and that burden as well. We have not gotten into that gray area yet. I do predict something like that in the next 2 to 3 years. The good thing is the trustee's office builds relationships. So I'm able to build relationship with churches, other community organization, centers, groups, and things like that, where they can come in and help fill that void as well. But again, our funds and our funding is contingent on the tax base and the revenues that come into our township. And that is where we have our budgets to do 3 areas. Of course, township assistance, emergency assistance, small claims court is part of the budget. And then a bigger chunk of our budget is the fire department, because that is a huge undertaking with men, women, paramedics, EMTs, all the things that go into that. And so that area of the budget is extremely large. And even with the vehicles and the apparatuses and the engines that they use, all that is very, very expensive.
How long have you been the trustee in Pike Township?
This is my 8th year, so my second 4-year term.
Okay, so you've been 8 years. Have you seen anything different from when you first came into that office? I mean, I know you kind of worked within the township, but now having been the trustee in the township, anything different from the level of, I'll say, constituents' needs in the township? Anything that's really changed where you're saying, here's what what we were really facing and what folks were really facing, coming in 8 years ago versus even now, or whatever you can, do a comparison and contrast.
Well, again, I served on the township board for 14 years, and it was there that I had a foundation. And I brag about that. I talk about it all the time. 14 years serving on a township board. I was able to see a lot, be the ears and the eyes. And then I took that into becoming the trustee. That was the focus for me running the trustee because I wanted to do some things differently. Trustees, again, a lot of people didn't know that the trustee's office was in the township. We always got that. And so what I've been able to do is be a trustee that's out in the community. We vamped a website. So I have a township website that has all of our information on there, all of our forms, our documents that you need. And so I want to be very transparent to make sure individuals that are in need know the trustee's office is here, know what they need when they come, and then kind of get to know my staff. We're all listed on the website. So that's one of my proud, I would say, moments is having the website and having a community page and an outreach page and just changing the whole, I would say, that atmosphere of the trustee's office with putting an on-site food pantry, on-site mother-baby room with diapers, and again, outdoor in the area of food that people just come up off the street, no questions asked. So just really being a trustee that can provide the services on an emergency, level, because a lot of times individuals don't understand. It has to be something that has occurred in the last 30 days that is deemed an emergency for you. And so that's my role.
If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can call in to the radio station. That phone number is 317-480-1310. Once again, 317-480-1310. So what's the number one issue that you find yourself being faced with as you have folks walk into your office?
Right now, it's the utilities. The utility bills are just, out of control. And so that is one of my things that we're facing. I've been able to work with other utility assistance programs. And the one that we're working with now is called WAF, Winter Assistance Fund, so WAL. And so I do that every year. I really come alongside the Winter Assistance Fund and make sure that I'm able to get these utilities bills down to an area or a money area that residents and clients can afford.
Okay, so you mentioned that has to be a 30-day, something happened within, last 30 days. Most folks, when they're looking at their utility bill, it's like, okay, it's not 30 days. I'm behind maybe 30, 60. And okay, if they weren't cutting me off in the wintertime, it could be 90 days now. How do you address that when you're looking at that 30-day emergency? Is it 30 days where my services are going to be disconnected now, or kind of help folks understand that?
Normally, it's still 30 days because they have a time frame period when they're going to be cut off. I can give an example. I had a young man. He's working a full-time job, but he has a lot on him with other family members that he's been trying to help. And then he did get some of his hours cut. And so his bill was a little over $600. And so what I try to do is pay the full amount, because again, there's guidelines, there's set money levels for you to pay utility bills. But my goal as a trustee has always been to pay the full amount. That way he has a zero balance. As of today, he has a zero balance. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in May, June, July, but I make sure that all of the clients that come into the trustee's office, we pay the full amount. Now, when it's $1,500 and $2,000, that is a little bit out of my scope. I'm not able to do much about that because that's just, we don't have $2,000 to pay on individuals, utilities. And that's why I use part of the winter assistance fund, because they're able to give me 800. I try to match it. I'll get 800 from the winter assistance fund, and then I add 800. And then now we cut it down to 1,600.
Now, a lot of times, folks, they also, if I'm behind, not only do I have to catch up, but now I have to pay a deposit. Will the trustee's office, assist in that deposit as well?
Not a deposit. Again, the bills that I'm getting is I'm trying to pay it before it gets disconnected or cut off.
Okay.
So I deal with all disconnects. And so that's what I'm working with. No deposits. So because again, this is government money, and some of these guidelines are very strenuous and so stringent. And I have no control over that. I would love for state legislators to lobby, to update some of these guidelines and to provide some type of cushion for clients and our constituents. But again, I only can do what I'm deemed to do. But again, we work very hard to get it down as much as I can. My senior citizens, those are I do not mess around with them. I pay all of their bill for them. Again, I don't know predicting what's going to happen in, say, May, June, July, and August, but at least I have gotten you to a zero balance.
Okay. Well, you're running for Pike Township trustee once again here in the Democrat primary. Kind of, share with the audience, why should they, reelect Trustee Johnson?
Well, as a trustee here in Pike Township, I've done a lot of, I would say, updates and really changed the whole, I would say, demeanor of township services here in Pike Township. I have been an advocate for protecting our fire department. I believe in township government being close to the people. So I have worked very hard to make sure that, again, my Pike Township Fire Department, which saves lives, it protects our community, and it is among the best in the state. And so I've been working hard on that level. Also, I want to continue to help those in need and continue to do some innovative things and come up with some more strategies and components of helping individuals. So I want to continue that. That's part of my plans. I have 3 plans. And then my third plan is I'm going to continue to be a powerful voice for our community. That may be in the area of data centers, save Eagle Creek, make sure that charter schools are far away from Pike Township. I'm really into public schools. That's what I believe in. And I also want to just make sure, again, that I'm a trustee that's out in the community, doing job fairs, doing festivals, outdoor giveaways. We just had an essential giveaway this past Saturday where I had a lot of donations from Walmart, and we were able to give away a lot of household goods. So I want to continue all of that.
All right. Well, Annette Johnson has just shared what the trustee does, what she has done, what she is going to do. And Trustee Johnson, if someone would like to be part of your campaign or would like to get more information, how could they do that?
Well, we have a wonderful website. I would love for people to go on and look at the website. It's Annette Johnson 2026.com. And you're more than welcome to call me. I'm transparent, live in Pike Township, been in Pike Township. You see me in the store, shopping everywhere. You can, my cell phone is 317-418-7801. And so again, that's Annette Johnson 2026.com, or you can call me at 317-418-7801.
All right. Well, Trustee Johnson, definitely best wishes for you during your campaign. And thank you for joining us and sharing what it is that you're planning to continue to do in Pike Township. Well, we're getting ready to transition and go to our commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have our president. He's going to join us, and we're going to continue our conversation once again. Lots of things are going on. Governor Braun just did something that shows that maybe we need our state legislators to really have a heart. Yeah, he just signed a bill that is criminalizing homelessness. So we're going to talk about that as well as some other items when we come back from our commercial break. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can call into the radio station. Once again, that number is 317-480-1310, 317-480-1310. But we'll catch you on the other side of our commercial break. Thanks, Trustee Johnson, and we'll see you on the other side of our commercial break. You're listening to the Concerned Clergy Radio Show on Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM Indy's Inspiration Station. Catch our Substack that comes Thursday morning on the Progressive Indiana Network, and that's the replay of tonight's program. Once again, the Progressive Indiana Network, tomorrow morning, you can catch our Substack. I want to welcome in our president tonight, President Pastor David W. Greene Sr. How you doing, Mr. President?
Alexander, glad to be able to join you. I had a busy evening and a busy day today, but I'm glad to be in here for this back half of the program.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you on tonight. I had a good conversation with Pike Trustee Annette Johnson on tonight, and she's been fighting. You know, we talked about data centers earlier in the program. She's been fighting that fight. I know you have as well. And from what I've heard, kind of go back a little bit to that conversation, is that now in Decatur Township, those folks are actually filing a lawsuit in regards to the rezoning of that data center down there in Decatur Township. And then there was also an announcement of another data center that's also being proposed on another side of town here in Indianapolis. So these things are certainly a lot of activity. And with that, Mr. President, we've had our Congressman Carson, that said he's going to introduce something on tomorrow that's going to hopefully, bring the community voice into play when it comes to these developers. And even the city county council now is saying, we're looking at doing some things to put some guardrails, which, I think, it's great. But my question is on all of that, Mr. President, how come we weren't doing this stuff ahead of time, especially when we had what was going on with Franklin Township and knew that several other data centers were coming down the pipe line sometime, in the very near future. And now we're reacting, and you have so many communities that are in an uproar because they feel like they're fighting this battle on their own.
I think what we're seeing, Rem Alexander, is the power of the grassroots. I think that obviously there was a plan and people were executing their plan. But what has happened is a number of voices have raised their voice. And I think that people are now, especially in the midst of an election, revisiting, wait a minute here. Maybe I shouldn't be on this side of this issue. I need to go back and revisit it. So I think a lot of, I would applaud the grassroots community for speaking up. And I think that's what you're seeing now is people beginning to listen, or at least appear that they're listening, and to respond to that. And so it didn't happen top down. This is something happening bottom up, that's swelling up, and people are being forced to, who thought maybe this would go away after a little while, and it hasn't gone away. I mean, I think of what happened here at Pike Township. I mean, you see those Save Eagle Creek signs a ton of places, right?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And they weren't there, right? And so all of a sudden, there was a coalition, if you will. People have come together and said, we're going to fight this. And it wasn't because somebody at the top organized it. It's driven by grassroots efforts, and those of us are saying we're not going to sit on the sidelines for this fight. And so I think that's what we're witnessing. I'll be excited to hear about what the congressman has to say. I'll be excited to see and hear what the city county councilors are saying. Matter of fact, we need to hear from the mayor on this, right? So all of those people who occupy those seats, this is a great time to stand up and let their voices be heard while all this is going on. And clearly there's a concern. And, on one side, they say they want people to be engaged. You can't continue to do like what you did just a couple of weeks ago with Councilor Ron Gibson and the community when they came in from Brightwood and shared. So if you want people involved, you want people to come and voice their concerns, you better find ways to say, how do we listen to the community? Because we need to do that. I think that's a clear message being sent, and I think a lot of political people are understanding that, and so I'm excited and want to hear from it and what it looks like, in hopes that it's something that can be done, that can be executed.
Well, if nothing else, some of the things I'm hearing is such as having more transparency as to what some of the local agreements are, whether they're state agreements that are being made with some of these developers, and then making sure that there is some type of benefit package that, is going to the local community, and whatever framework that is, but making sure that the community has a voice in, regards to, well, here's what we want. If this is what you're going to do, at least, here's what we want to see, whether that's pouring money, to the school district, whether that's into some programs, or whatever, it's, supporting a church or whatever that could be, infrastructure, but at least have the community have a voice in that piece.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. I mean, I think they refer to that as the community agreements. We need to have that in place, should have had that in place. I just think it's time out for trying to do something to the community and not with the community and just informing them on the back end. I just think there's a number of factors that have contributed to getting where we are. But nonetheless, in this season, I don't feel like that's an effective strategy for somebody to feel like, well, we'll just push it down the throats of the community. And let me be clear, every politician isn't doing that. I mean, we just had Trustee Johnson on, who's outside of her trustee job, and she's engaging in Save Eagle Creek, et cetera. That's not necessarily the trustee's responsibility, but she's a clear advocate for saving Eagle Creek, pushing against data centers, supporting public education. So she has stood on those things, and that's something that she continues to do, that quote unquote outside of the responsibilities of a trustee, but she's letting them where she's at. So I don't want to mislabel or people believe that all politicians are over here. There are some of those that are still community minded, still listening to the voices of the community and still committed to the community. But that's what we need more of in this season, and not running from what their position is.
So definitely, folks, there's a meeting coming up, I know, in regards to this new data center that's being proposed. And if I remember right, I'll try to get that information. It's actually going to be next Monday. So it's going to be at the Downey Avenue Christian Church, 111 South Downey Street. That's for the proposed DC Blocks data center. That's in District 14 for those of you that are in Indianapolis. So they're going to be having a hearing there, they're going to be having a meeting there that's being hosted by City County Councilor Andy Nielsen. So if you're in that district, you can once again, you can attend that meeting. It's even going to be live online. So you can submit a question. Just do a Google search on DC Blocks, and Blocks is spelled B as in Baker, LOX as an X-ray. You can register, and then you can get a link to the feed for that evening, so you don't actually have to be there in person. And that's what we got to do. We have to continue to be informed, and then not only just be informed, but be engaged and provide our input. Now, Mr. President, I do want to transition a little bit, and if you're listening, like to be part of the conversation, you can call in 317-480-1310. But there was you put out a press press release in regards to what Governor Braun just did, and signing, or was kind of more ceremonial signing. I think that's how you even described it, in which he's pretty much criminalizing those homeless, or our homeless neighbors out there in that don't have anywhere to go. And you spoke out on that. Can you speak out a little bit about what exactly Governor Braun is doing with this signing, and then even your role, because as part of the press release, you talked about how you're engaged in the Mayor's Commission on Homelessness. Kind of speak to that piece as well.
Well, first of all, I'm disappointed that Governor Braun is doing this signing, banning public camping across Indiana, and this is really targeted towards Indianapolis, because I wanted to be clear that homelessness is not a crime. Homelessness is a condition, and conditions require solutions, Rem Alexander, not punishment. We got a condition here. Being homeless, falling on hard times is not a crime, and solving it is not a $500 fine and a C misdemeanor. I mean, that's not going to solve their condition. That's not going to bring them out of it. And where are these people supposed to go? And so we're not going to be able to legislate people out of homelessness. And that's not a solution. We really need to focus on solutions. Solutions like housing, mental health care, addiction treatment. That's what we got to focus on. Not just saying, okay, here's a solution. Somebody's down. Here's a $500 fine for them. That's not going to fix it. And, I serve on the Mayor's Leadership Council on Homelessness. So I've seen this stuff. What we need to do is expand access to affordable housing, invest in that mental health, substance treatment. We need to create better ways to get people to employment and stability. And, again, as with my platform, this is a moral issue. And, we can't even say we don't have the money, because at the same time, we're trying to still get the Chicago Bears. So it's not a case of we don't have the resources. We don't have the willingness. And we got to get the willingness to truly make a difference for the least of those. And people, when they fall in hard times, they're the least of those. And we need to care enough to be trying to help them, not put another barrier on them, not try to hold them down, not trying to punish them because they fell down. Where's the hand to help them get up? That's where I'm at. I can't apologize for that. And I'm like, you can't say we don't have the money. Did you watch this and then turn around and say, okay, we're trying to get the Chicago Bears here. And we've been talking about data centers. What's the tax break for those people? 50 years? Oh, okay. So when you listen to the conversations we have, we should be able to pour into people and say, let's get them some help. Let's not kick them down.
Well, especially, what's really frustrating is, every day, all day, you're almost hearing about where millions and millions and billions of dollars are being spent in all these other areas, whether it be the war, and then hearing, the president himself saying that we can't, pour into early child care development, or you can't pour into Medicaid, Medicare, and then any other issue. But yet you're hearing so many millions that are being spent in so many different areas, and there's nothing there that is really helping anyone, let alone our homeless neighbors. And here it is, as you said, money is not the issue. The issue is, are you willing to put your money, in a place to which you're really helping people, you're bettering their lives, you're making a difference in their lives, or you're really, you have the same mindset as the president, who says, well, our role isn't to help people, it's to defend people, and that's it.
Exactly. We're trying to ask people that don't have boots to pull themselves up by the boots. What are we doing here? If you just look at it from a moral lens, how can that be a solution? That only further complicates things for the person who's struggling. Because if they don't pay the fine, which most likely they won't be able to pay the fine, then that's going to be lingering on their credit when you try to get them an apartment or whatever, because you got this $500 fine over here that you did not pay because you were homeless. And if you don't show up to court, now there's subject to be a warrant for your arrest because you didn't show up to court because you're homeless and you know I ain't got the money. Why am I even going to court? And all of that just it's a slippery slope.
I might not even have transportation to get there. I mean, I'm homeless.
So it all slides, right? So you go from this one bad thing to the next bad thing to the next bad thing, and there's absolutely no help in that. No help in that. What are we doing? What's the purpose of it?
Well, we really, you've been making a critical point that this is really, a moral issue, and we need to address these issues, with a heart. And not just, looking at people as, numbers, pawns in a political arena, whatever, but really look at them as people. And these are the people that, that we're hoping are going to have, children. They're going to have children, and we're going to continue not a cycle of curses, but we're going to have a cycle in which where our children are doing better than we did. Their children are going to be able to do better than they did, because that's kind of what we saw in a lot of cases as we were growing up.
Exactly. We don't get to where we are without that. It's far more challenging. And we're because keep in mind, a number of homeless people, the growing group is women with children. Mm-hmm. We're not taking that one adult now. We're taking that adult with that child, and now we're talking about potentially separating children from the mother. I mean, all this is just messy, and it's not a solution. We need to focus on solutions, not creating additional barriers, creating additional problems. Why don't we focus on a solution and move in that direction? We're not doing that. Becoming homeless is not a crime. It's a condition. It's not a crime. It never has been.
So as we're rounding out tonight, I definitely want us, we spoke about it a few weeks ago, Mr. President, and that's having a voting plan. And part of that voting plan is knowing your candidates. We shared a little bit, from the trustee on tonight. You shared a little bit about what your platform, what you're running for. Just kind of remind folks before we hang up on tonight, what exactly district you're running on, and then how people can even get involved in that.
Well, I'm running on the affordability-first platform. Everybody I talk to is feeling pressure. Regardless, in my district as Wayne Township, Pike, Zionsville, West Carmel, people feeling pressure. And seniors are feeling pressure. Other people are feeling pressure. The group that's childbearing age, they're feeling pressure because childcare is expensive or not even accessible. Healthcare is a struggle to get. Seniors are feeling pressure. They're trying to pick between what am I going to do for a meal and how am I going to get my medicine? And can I take all my medicine? Or can I only take a portion of my medicine because all this is expensive? So people are feeling pressure. People are feeling like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay where I'm at and continue to, live my life. And whether you're on the older side and you're just thinking, I'd like to be able to stay in my house, or am I going to get forced out? Or on the younger side, man, I can't even get a house. Or if I got one, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay here because the rents and other things keep rising. So those challenges are out there. And then with that, we got to make sure we fully fund education because we got to help people grow their wages. So we got to make sure that we are investing in our children because that's our future. And then in Indiana, you got to always have a fight about something, right? So we got to save Eagle Creek. I'm with that group. I live by Eagle Creek. We got to save Eagle Creek. So we got to be engaged in that because I'm a firm believer. I don't believe that you're not going to have an environmental accident somewhere along the way. So if we're pushing out 25 million gallons of water going up to Lebanon, and they're going to bring wastewater back, for me, the question is not if we're going to have an environmental accident one day, Reverend Alexander, it's when we're going to have it. And when you have it, that does a lot of damage. And so we can't afford to play games with Eagle Creek, the reservoir. That's too much. I'm not against economic development, but you cannot do that at the expense of our natural resources, one of the great natural resources of our country. That's not the place to be playing games and, you know, gambling and saying, okay, it's going to be all right, when reality, we don't know that, and all this stuff is man-made, and there are going to be some accidents. Even with great intentions, there will be some one day.
Well, there's definitely going to be some issues, you know, that we need to be concerned about.
And it's water, so we need water, so you can't play games with that.
Too many unknowns, too much uncertainty, too many answers. We need questions. Too many questions we need answers for. So we thank you for listening to our show on tonight. I know there's some callers there that we were not able to get to, but hopefully we'll get to you next week. If anything, we want to leave you with this. Have a plan to vote this coming Saturday. Satellite locations are going to open once again in several of the townships. You can go vote. Those township government centers are going to be Decatur, Franklin, Perry Township, and Warren Township. You can vote there in the township government centers. You can also go to public libraries, Fort Bend and Pike Township, and then Cranard Park and St. Luke's United Methodist Church. And you can still also vote downtown at the city county building. So once again, those satellite sites will open this coming Saturday. Have a plan, get out. Oh, one more thing. If you want to mail in, tomorrow's the deadline to turn in your mail-in ballot application. But have a plan to vote. Well, everyone, we hope you have a blessed week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Be blessed.